Support for Destination Michigan is provided by the CMU Bookstore. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, maroon and gold memories, and an official outfitter of Adidas apparel at the Central Michigan University owned and operated CMU Bookstore. Online shopping 7 days a week at cmubookstore.com. On campus at the University Center, and game day locations at Kelly Short Stadium and the John G. Kohalvi Events Center.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Ozanek and welcome to Destination Michigan. We're coming to you today from the frosty shoreline of the Straits of Mackinac, and in this episode we're going to be hitting up spots in the Upper and Lower Peninsula. You're not going to want to miss it, so let's take a sneak peek at what we have coming up for you in this episode.
Probably in every UP town there's a pasty shop, and I'm not exaggerating.
First up, Steve Smith travels to Escanaba to share the story behind the Upper Peninsula's beloved pasty.
Between the hills and the sand and the beach, the views, you couldn't ask for anything better.
Fat bike racers from across the state head to Charlevoix to take part in the Dogman Challenge. We head to Iron County to spend a day hitting the hardwood with the folks at Connor Sports. Then Stephanie Mills introduces us to Shelby Gem Factory owner Larry Kelly, where he shares the secret to creating these stunning gemstones. And finally, it's all aboard to Commerce Township as we pay a visit to Chi-Town Union Station. All of these stories are coming your way on this episode of Destination Michigan. We begin this episode with the story about a particular food that has become a part of the fabric of life in the Upper Peninsula. Destination Michigan Steve Smith is here, and he's heading across the mighty Mac to tempt your taste buds with a visit to Dobber's in Escanaba.
It's well known that Yoopers speak Yooperese. You betcha. That means yes. A-E-H. It's more of verbal punctuation than it is a word. Mosquito, a synonym for UP State bird. And Pasties is pronounced.
A lot of people come in looking for pasties, and we have to tell them we don't sell that item here, but we can sell you a pasty.
The pasty is as warm and robust as the residents of the UP.
It originated in Cornwall, England, and it was brought here to the Upper Peninsula at the turn of the 20th century with the miners. They brought this over with their culture and part of their tradition, and the workforce here in the Upper Peninsula in the iron mines and the copper mines were Scandinavian. A lot of Swedes, a lot of Finns, as it still is today. So they said, hey, this is great. And they adopted it as part of their own culture. And now a lot of people who aren't familiar with the history of it come to the UP and think it does have a Scandinavian or a Finnish heritage.
It's also a tradition for Brad Mantella's family. 3 generations of pasty makers spanning more than 50 years.
My grandfather actually started the Red Onion restaurant up in Nagani back in the 60s. And it was a regular type restaurant. And one of the items on the menu was the pasty, the recipe we use here today. The pasty was so popular, more popular than anything else, he just stopped making hamburgers and pizzas and everything else and turned it into a pasty shop. And he sold more pasties, and that just grew and grew and grew. It has been here for so long and is part of people's family. You know, my grandfather ate them in the mines, or my grandmother made them, and passed it down to my mother. Like when you go to other parts of the country, barbecue is a big tradition, or seafood. This is our traditional food.
Today, the business is called Dobber's Pasties, with locations in Escanaba and Iron Mountain.
Probably in every UP town there's a pasty shop, and I'm not exaggerating. There's a shop. And it's just like there's a donut shop or a cake shop or a bakery. Here, there's a pasty shop.
Dobber's packs every pasty with the freshest ingredients to make what Brad calls the ultimate comfort food.
So we have beef, we have the chopped beef, we have potatoes, rutabagas. Some people aren't familiar with it, but it's another root vegetable, and it's traditional Cornish sweet root vegetable.
Add a pinch of salt, pepper, and minced onion, wrap the ingredients in a pie-type crust, and then get ready for a feast.
To me, this is a meal. We have some hearty party folks that I've seen them come in and sit down and eat 2 of them.
Even the shape of the pasty dates back to the harsh conditions UP miners faced.
It's shaped this way for 2 reasons. One, it would be hot when they left the house in the morning, and so they'd put it in their jacket. Now when they go in the mines, it was cold and damp down in the underground mines. So they'd take this when it was hot from the house, put it inside their jacket, their heavy work jacket, so it kind of kept them warm. And then when it got to lunchtime, they never came up from the mines for lunch. They had to stay down in the mines. They'd put it on their shovel, and they'd put it on their headlamp, and they'd heat that up on the shovel to get it a little bit warmer than just body temp. And then, because they were dirty, so what they do is they take this part, the crimp, which would seal the pasty, but then also they'd be able to hold on to it by that. Tradition, I guess, was that they'd throw the crust to the gremlins in the mine for good luck, to keep them happy so they wouldn't have troubles in the mines.
Dobber's makes upwards of 9,000 pasties a week, feeding locals and tourists, in addition to shipping the UP delicacy across the country.
They get a real thrill out of it because, it's like if you ordered fresh lobster from Maine, somebody in San Diego can get pasties shipped to them from northern Michigan.
But we couldn't leave Dobber's without getting a definitive answer to an age-old question. Do you top your pasty with ketchup or gravy?
In the UP, it better be ketchup. In fact, we do provide gravy, but we've only been doing it for about 5 years. And I always get a kick out of it because when people come in and we say, would you like ketchup or gravy with that? If they answer gravy, I ask them, where are you from downstate? And they said, how do you know we're from below the bridge? And I said, no self-respecting Youper would ask for gravy on their pasty.
An interesting side note, Dobber's actually provides the pasties for Jeff Daniels' Escanaba into Moonlight and ships fresh pasties to the Purple Rose Theater in Chelsea for their live performances. And for our next story, we're gonna head to the picturesque town of Charlevoix, an area that's well known for its phenomenal skiing opportunities. There's another wintertime sport that's fast becoming a Michigan tradition. So we're gonna head into the woods of Mount McSauba and check out the Dogman Challenge. There's a legend lurking in the woods of northern Michigan, a myth that started centuries ago. The tale of the ever-elusive Dogman.
First time I heard of the Dogman was at a lumber store. He described the Dogman as bipedal creature with a dog face. He's supposed to be pretty active out here this weekend, so we're going to see what happens. We might see him. You might see him on a fat bike too.
That's right, even the Dogman hasn't been able to resist Michigan's newest winter craze.
Fat biking, generally is the 4-inch plus tire. So if you've got a 4-inch tire on your bike, it's considered a fat bike or larger. And it just allows more flotation over loose terrain like snow and sand.
I kind of consider myself one of the original gangsters of it, back when we didn't have grooming and we used to snowshoe in the courses like 2 or 4 hours before a race, and then it just kind of developed, and now we have grooming and it's just grown, and it's a really great fun sport.
The first Dogman Challenge was held in 2013, created as an effort to bring more tourism to the Charlevoix area during its slower winter months. And from all accounts, it's working. This year, 31 riders made it to the starting line at the top of Mount McSauba's Bunny Hill.
The Dogman Challenge, we decided to make it a 2-hour endurance event on a 1.6 to 1.8 mile loop. You're scored basically by the amount of laps you can complete within 2 hours. The course I'll describe as kind of a rolly course, almost always snow covered, of course, but it doesn't have to be. So, like today, there's bare ground out there. There's a little bit of ice. There's sand, snow, of course. So it's a mix of conditions depending on what Mother Nature throws at us.
Getting a handle on track conditions is crucial for any racer who's hoping to bring home the gold.
We never have the same course. It's either slushy or loose or hard-packed or icy, so you always got to think, you can crash, you could break a chain, get a flat tire, and you want to kind of have a gap just in case that happens and be able to fix it and still pull off a win maybe.
A lot of it is learning this, read the snow and snow conditions and tire pressure. Tire pressure is huge. Like 1 pound of pressure, higher or lower, can make the difference in the whole race.
The fat tires on the bike make it more stable on the snow and ice, but it by no means makes the trail any less grueling. After 90 minutes of racing, fatigue is starting to rear its ugly head, and lap times slowly get longer and longer. But that's what these races are all about, pushing your body and mind to the limit, but in a way that is tons of fun.
Very challenging, but oh my gosh. Between the hills and the sand and the beach, the views, you couldn't ask for anything better.
It's always a good challenge here, but the beach, the view, and the sand and the snow, and that's Michigan. A little variety of everything.
To hear that gun go off and see all the racers be competing and out here enjoying themselves, and the spectators come in, and I'd like to see the whole community involved and coming out and enjoying the day. If you haven't come out to the Dogman Challenge, you need to come out to the Dogman Challenge and experience a fat bike race. And if you have one in your local community, at least get out there and check it out.
The winner of this year's Dogman Challenge was Jordan Wakely, who blazed through 16 laps during the 2-hour race. And unfortunately, there weren't any sightings of the Dogman this time, but better luck next year. And our next stop may be one of Destination Michigan's most remote to date. Steve Smith is heading back across the bridge and into Iron County to share the story of another slam dunk Michigan treasure.
We produce a product here called a portable sports floor. That portable sports floor is used by many NBA teams and other types of venues that need a floor that's removable, that can be used for an event and then taken back up for a different type of event. We had an opportunity back in 2006 to begin working on projects for the NCAA for the Final Four tournament. So the Final Four tournament is played on a portable court.
It's a little known fact that the Upper Peninsula's Amasa, with fewer than 300 residents, is home to Connor Sports, the manufacturer of basketball courts sold around the world.
We go through approximately 7 million board feet of lumber. Tie that amount to something that means something. We produce on average about 800 basketball courts per year.
Their clients include hundreds of collegiate teams, half the NBA franchises, and the Olympics.
I would say that the Final Four tournament courts are the most exciting because I don't know that there's a sport that's followed as closely in the United States as the Final Four tournament. It seems like when you talk about basketball, everyone recognizes the tournament. And so having a part of that is really an exciting part of our job here. And you'll find that most of the people that work here in the plant, when this time of the year comes around, they're pretty proud, to have a part of it.
Connor Sports has been in business since 1872 and employs roughly 120 people in Amasa. That puts them in the heart of pristine maple forests, the key to a quality court.
We have a lumber buyer that purchases rough sawn lumber for us, northern hard maple, grown north of the 38th parallel. The 38th parallel is important because it's determined that any maple that's grown north of that line is grown in an area where the growing seasons are rather short. So what you end up with is tightly spaced growth rings in a tree. Makes for a very hard and very stable product, which is important for a basketball court.
An average portable professional basketball court weighs 37 tons and costs $100,000.
Each floor, on average, is made up of about 250 of these panels, and each panel weighs just shy of 200 pounds apiece.
Not to mention the immense responsibility of crafting a quality court where the world's best basketballers play.
NBA facilities turn a court over approximately 150 times a year, meaning just about every other day that court's going down and coming up. So durability is incredibly important. Performance for the athlete, force reduction or shock absorption in the system, vertical deflection, basketball response or rebound. Those are all characteristics that are really important for basketball.
A tip of the hat to the fine folks in Iron County who provide the foundation for one of America's favorite pastimes. Gemstones are mesmerizing no matter which way you cut them, and there's one Oceana County man who has found a way to grow them in a way that Mother Nature never intended. Stephanie Mills is here and she's going to give us a tour of the Shelby Gem Factory.
When it comes to growing crystals, it all boils down to chemistry and an adventurous spirit. Meet Larry Kelly. He's been growing crystals in Shelby for about 50 years, but he got started in this business long before then.
Well, I was actually 13. My dad ran a body shop, and you use aluminum oxide sandpaper. And I'd read what you use aluminum oxide and chrome. We had chrome bumpers on cars, and the chrome would peel off. And so I scraped off a mess of my dad's aluminum oxide, put a piece of bumper on it, heat it with a torch, and I got a little ruby about that big around. It wasn't clear, but it was red, so that's how I got started.
These are just a few of the crystals that Larry has grown right here at his Shelby Gem Factory. They include rubies, emeralds, aquamarines, and they are mesmerizing to see up close and hold in your hands.
Well, the gems that you mine out of the ground, those gems are getting fewer and fewer and fewer, so they get more expensive and expensive because you can't find them so often. So we make something that looks like it, but it's harder. I think we make more gems than anybody else in the world, but we make aquamarine like this. We make probably I'd say about 30 different crystals.
Growing crystals is not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of science, chemicals, equipment, and most importantly, heat to get the job done just right. Larry broke it down like this for us.
Let's just talk about water for a second. Water, everybody knows water freezes at 32 into ice. And let's say you had a cup of water at 35 degrees, so it's really cold water. And then you take a copper rod that's, say, 10 degrees, you dip that into that cold water, and some of that water is going to freeze on there like ice. And you pull it up, and eventually you get an icicle. This is what they call a seed crystal. This is in a cup. It costs about 80,000 bucks for the cup, and it's very hot. And this is cold. It's up here, and we dip that down, and some of that starts to freeze on there. And as it does, we just keep pulling it up, and it keeps freezing on there. Eventually, we get a big crystal like that.
Most crystals take around 2 to 3 weeks to grow this big under scorching heat. They grow them a couple times a year, and it's not a cheap bill at all. Their electric bill can hit about $30,000 a month when they're growing crystals. It's important to note, too, while these aren't true crystals, they are nearly identical to the ones that grow in the earth.
And over the years that I've been doing this, we know which crystals to put in there and what things to color it and so on and so forth.
Here at the Shelby Gem Factory, they've grown thousands of gorgeous gemstones and turned them into stunning pieces of jewelry.
Mostly we try to make stuff that we know is popular because we've learned that over the years, what's popular and what isn't. And so most of our jewelry is made with 14 karat gold. We use a little 10 karat gold, and we use a little bit of silver, and once in a while we use some platinum.
You can see many of Larry's creations on display at their showroom, but they also have a lot of customers who come to them for custom pieces. They even have their own theater where you can sit and watch and learn how the entire crystal growing process comes together. It is a fascinating place that's learned how to get the upper hand on one of Mother Nature's most intriguing processes. Larry is the only person in Michigan in this line of work. In fact, he's practically the only one in the world growing crystals. While supplies of genuine crystals are low, here you can find nearly the same thing for a lot less money.
A ruby that you dig out of the ground, a good one, not these little teeny pieces of stuff like that, but a good ruby you dig out of the ground might be something that size, would probably cost $3,000. And ours cost about $175, so they're a heck of a lot less expensive.
So chemistry, whether you love it or hate it, you gotta admit, chemistry allows you to create some really cool stuff.
There are roughly 500 gemstone pieces on display in the Gem Factory showroom. You can stop by and pay a visit to the store inside the showroom Monday through Saturday. And for our final story tonight, Steve Smith is back, and he's gonna go to one of our favorite Michigan towns. And after seeing this next story, you'll definitely want to make some tracks to the Chi-Town Union Station in Commerce Township.
Paul Ribble got hooked on trains as a kid, hanging out with his granddad who would visit from LA.
And my mom wouldn't let him anywhere near the house with his cigar. So he'd say, "Come on, Paul, let's take a ride." So we'd go for a ride and watch trains somewhere.
Train travel was a way of life back then. It's an era Paul works to preserve, and he does it in a big way.
Chi-Town Union Station is, we think, the world's largest O-scale model railroad. It's a little over 10,000 square feet, and we have a little over 11,000 feet of track. I came up with a theme of Chicago because all the top passenger trains went to Chicago. Still, it's the biggest hub in the country for passenger trains and freight trains too, yeah. In 1971, May 1st, 1971, Amtrak came into existence, and all the good old trains disappeared. So we don't have anything on this layout newer than May 1st, 1971.
When you walk in the door to Chi-Town Union Station, your eyes don't know where to focus first. With more than 100 tracks and scores of vintage passenger trains, Paul has been adding to his layout since 1999.
So I started with a blank sheet of paper, and after throwing away about 34 of them, I finally kept the 35th edition, and that's hanging on the wall over there. It's so many tracks on there, I had to color code them just to keep them separate. But the real key is I don't want anything over 2% grade. So everything had to be laid out perfectly. It took me until the day after Thanksgiving in 2005 to be able to open to the public because they didn't have enough to show. It just took that much time to build even one loop on our 3-track main, and some of the other tracks are partially in place, but that's all we had the first year.
Paul estimates he has more than $1 million invested in trains, a hobby he says was partially inspired by his wife who died of cancer.
She never spent her money. She didn't get to enjoy the fruits of her labor. She was only 48 when she died. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend my money and I'm going to enjoy it. So I did. The quality trains we have are very rare. But some of these trains were only made one time, and they had small quantities made. I have some Union Pacific passenger cars that were made in the early 90s and one time. And they're high quality, and their values actually increased over the years. So, and they're all brass. Almost all our cars are brass or aluminum passenger cars. And the locomotives are almost all brass too. Highly detailed, highly sought after, hard to find.
And almost as amazing as the trains is the system that keeps the trains on the track.
Everything is controlled by a computer that senses where the trains are. We have detectors in every section of track we call blocks. And as the trains go around, they just draw current. The detector senses it, sends a message to the computer. Each engine has a little computer chip called a decoder, which communicates with the command station. Do whatever it wants to do. Ring the bell, blow the horn, apply the brakes, turn the lights off and on, go faster, go slower, go backwards.
We've got over 2 miles of track here in the building, and we've still got a little bit more to go. Most of the track that you see that's exposed is all hand laid. And it comes with a 5-foot section of steel or brass rail. It gets put on ties that have been glued down individually. Each tie gets a spike on both sides to hold the rail in place.
I got retired. I belong to the Detroit Model Railroad Club up in Holly. Periodically, they will have a tour of home layouts. Well, I went on the tour. All the home layouts were really great. The last layout was here at Paul's. I came in the door over there. There's trains running everywhere. I thought, when I die and go to heaven, this is what I want it to be like.
And before we leave you today, we wanted to share with you some of this incredible footage. This winter, Michiganders were in for a treat as massive ice formations were spotted along the Straits of Mackinac that appeared to turn blue. It's not food coloring or trick photography, but rather an act of nature. This phenomenon occurs when air bubbles are squeezed out of the ice through compressed snow. This allows for short wavelengths of light to travel longer distances through the ice, turning it blue. It's a rare occurrence on the Great Lakes, and it's bringing people from near and far to rest for a moment on the lakeshore and marvel at Mother Nature's beauty. with that, this episode of Destination Michigan comes to a close. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Now you can enjoy the Destination Michigan experience anytime, anywhere, online. Just go to pbs.org or download the PBS app to your smartphone or tablet. Search Destination Michigan and relive all of your favorite stories from our beloved Great Lakes state.